The apartment was small. One bedroom with a kitchen that opened into the living room, a bathroom with a shower that dripped, windows that looked out at other buildings instead of gardens. It was nothing like the estate, nothing like luxury, and it was perfect. It was hers. Every inch of it was hers. She spent the first week making it home, hung curtains she picked out herself, bought furniture from second-hand stores, put up photos of people she actually knew instead of expensive art chosen by decorators, made it feel warm and lived in and real. Mrs. Choi came by every few days with food and company. Some of the women from the community center helped her paint the bedroom a soft yellow that reminded her of sunshine. Minwoo texted every day, just checking in, never pushing, never demanding, just there. She appreciated it even if she didn't know what to do with it, appreciated having someone who asked how she was without expecting her to be okay, someone who understood that leaving was just the beginning, that healing took time. The divorce papers sat on Ji-Hoon's desk for 2 weeks before he signed them. She knew because his lawyer called hers, said his client was contesting several clauses, dragging his feet, making it difficult. She expected that, expected him to fight this the only way he knew how, through lawyers and paperwork and control. What she didn't expect was him showing up at the community center. She was teaching an English class to a group of elderly Korean women when he walked in, just stood in the doorway in his expensive suit, looking completely out of place among the plastic chairs and donated books. Her students noticed immediately, started whispering. One of them recognized him. "That's Kim Ji-Hoon, from the news, the criminal family." "He's my..." She paused. What was he? Not husband anymore. Not really, not in any way that mattered. "He's someone I used to know. Excuse me for a moment." She met him in the hallway. "What are you doing here?" "I needed to see you. You won't answer my calls. You blocked my numbers. Your lawyer won't tell me where you're living." He looked desperate, rough, like he'd been slowly falling apart since she left. "I just needed to see that you're okay." "I'm fine, better than fine. Now leave." I signed the papers. She felt something in her chest crack open. Relief. Pain. Both at once. "Good. Thank you. I didn't want to. My father had to threaten me. He said if I didn't sign, he'd make sure you got everything. The house, half the business, everything." Ji-Hoon's laugh was bitter. "Turns out, the only way to make me do the right thing is to threaten to destroy everything I've built." "I don't want your money. I never wanted any of it." "I know. I know that now. Too late, but I know." He stepped closer. She backed up. He stopped. "Can we talk? Please, just for a few minutes. Just let me say what I need to say." She should say no. Should tell him to leave and never come back. Should protect herself from whatever emotional manipulation was coming. But something in his face made her hesitate. Something broken and honest. 5 minutes. Outside. Away from my students. They walked to a small park across the street. Sat on a bench under a tree that was just starting to bloom. Spring was coming. New life. New beginnings. The irony wasn't lost on her. "I've been in therapy." Ji-Hoon's words surprised her. "Since you left, my father insisted, said I had to deal with my issues or he'd cut me out of the family business. So I've been going 3 times a week, talking about things I've never talked about, feeling things I've spent 17 years trying not to feel." "That's good. I'm glad. It's hell. Absolute hell. Turns out when you spend years building walls, taking them down hurts worse than building them." He stared at his hands. "My therapist asked me to write you a letter, to say everything I couldn't say when you were living in my house. To be honest, for once, in my miserable life." He pulled an envelope from his jacket, offered it to her. She didn't take it. "I don't want to read it." "I know, but I need you to have it. Even if you throw it away, even if you burn it. I need to know I tried to give you the truth, even if it's 3 years too late." He set it on the bench between them. Everything is in there. Everything about why I kept you at a distance. Everything about what happened to my mother. Everything about how I fell in love with you the day you married me and spent 3 years terrified of that feeling. Her head snapped up. What? I loved you. From the beginning. That's why I pushed you away. That's why I couldn't look at you. Couldn't touch you. Couldn't let myself be in the same room with you without armor. His voice cracked. Because you were good. And I'm not. Because you deserved light. And I'm all darkness. Because loving you meant painting a target on your back. And I couldn't survive watching another person I love get destroyed by this life. That's not love, that's cowardice. You're right. It was. It is. He turned to face her. But I'm trying to be brave now. I'm trying to be the man my mother saw in me. The man you deserved. I know it doesn't matter. I know you're done. I know I lost you before I ever really had you. But I needed you to know. I needed you to understand it was never about you not being enough. You were always enough. You were everything. I was just too broken to reach for it. Tears burned her eyes. She blinked them back. Why are you telling me this now? What do you want from me? Nothing. I don't want anything. He stood, shoved his hands in his pockets. I wanted you to know the truth. I wanted you to know that those 3 years destroyed me as much as they destroyed you. That every day I didn't come to you was a day I hated myself. That every night I heard you crying through the walls and it took everything in me not to go to you. That I was drowning and I took you down with me and I'm sorry. I'm so fucking sorry. He started walking away. She sat there holding an envelope she didn't want to read. Feeling things she didn't want to feel. Watching him leave when 3 years ago, she would have given anything for him to stay. Ji-Hoon, her voice stopped him. He turned. I can't forgive you. Not yet. Maybe not ever. What you did, what you put me through, it broke something in me that I'm still trying to fix. I know, but I'm glad you're in therapy. I'm glad you're dealing with it. I hope you heal. I hope you find peace. She stood, envelope in hand. I hope you learn to let people in before you lose everyone who matters. I already lost the only person who mattered. She didn't know what to say to that. Didn't know how to respond to pain that mirrored her own. So she just walked away, left him standing in the park, went back to her students, taught her class with a smile that felt like broken glass, went home to her small apartment and sat on her second-hand couch staring at the envelope. She should throw it away, should burn it, should delete him from her life completely and move forward. But curiosity was a terrible thing. Curiosity and the part of her that still remembered loving him. That still wondered what if. That still hurt. She opened the envelope. The letter was 20 pages, handwritten. His normally controlled script shaky in places, smudged in others like tears had fallen. She read it start to finish. Read about the day they met at his mother's bedside, how he'd watched her care for his dying mother with such gentleness and thought she was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. Read about the wedding day, how he'd wanted to kiss her but couldn't let himself, how he'd wanted to hold her but fear won. Read about every single day of their marriage from his perspective. The agony of keeping distance, the torture of hearing her cry, the rage at himself for being too broken to do better. He wrote about his mother's kidnapping in detail she'd never heard. About being 12 and watching them carry her broken body into the house. About the sounds she made, the blood, the way his father made him watch as a lesson in the cost of weakness. About how something in him died that night. About how he'd spent 17 years becoming someone who couldn't be hurt because he couldn't feel. He wrote about the day Min-woo came back. About seeing her laugh with his brother and realizing what he'd lost. About the jealousy that consumed him. About finally feeling something after years of nothing and not knowing what to do with it. About wanting to fight for her but not knowing how. About watching her leave and feeling like he was 12 again. Watching his mother die. He wrote about therapy, about crying for the first time in 17 years, about his therapist asking him what he was afraid of and him realizing he was more afraid of happiness than death, about learning that love wasn't weakness, that caring wasn't dangerous, that the walls he'd built to protect himself had actually just made him a prisoner. The last page was an apology, real and raw and broken. I'm sorry I failed you. I'm sorry I failed my mother. I'm sorry I failed myself. You deserved a husband who saw you, who held you, who built a life with you instead of next to you. You deserved love and I gave you nothing. I understand why you left. I understand why you can't forgive me. I just needed you to know that you weren't invisible to me. You were the brightest thing in my world, and I was too afraid of the light to look at it directly. I hope you find someone brave enough to love you properly. Someone who sees your worth and doesn't run from it. Someone who gives you everything I couldn't. You deserve that. You deserve everything. She finished reading and sat in the dark, crying. For him, for herself, for what they could have been, for what they'd never be, for 3 years of nothing and one letter full of everything. Her phone buzzed. Min-woo, dinner tonight? My place? I'll cook. She stared at the message, thought about Ji-Hoon's letter, about broken men and second chances, about whether she could open her heart again or if it was safer to stay closed, about what she actually wanted versus what was easy. Yes, she typed back, but just as friends. I need time. His response was immediate. Always. Take all the time you need. She set down her phone, set down the letter, went to bed in her small apartment that was hers, tried not to think about Ji-Hoon in his big empty house reading through old therapy notes, tried not to wonder if people could actually change or if broken stayed broken, tried not to hope because hope had hurt her before. But late at night when she couldn't sleep, she read the letter again, and maybe, just maybe, some tiny part of her wondered what would happen if she gave him another chance, if she was brave enough to risk being hurt again, if love was worth the pain it caused. Then she remembered 3 years of being invisible, 3 years of crying herself to sleep, 3 years of slowly disappearing while he watched. And she knew. Some things stayed broken. Some chances only came once. Some doors, once closed, couldn't be opened again. She put the letter in a drawer, closed it, tried to close that chapter of her life with it. The next few weeks passed in a blur of normal. She taught her classes, worked on her degree, had dinner with Min-woo twice a week, let Mrs. Choi mother her, built a life that was small and quiet and hers. The divorce was finalized, papers signed by both parties. No contest, no drama, just an ending. Ji-Hoon's father called her once. You're a remarkable woman, strong, principled. I respect that you walked away when most would have stayed for the money. I respect that you're building something real. He paused. My son is in pieces, completely destroyed. Part of me thinks he deserves it. Part of me hopes you'll give him another chance someday. But either way, thank you for trying. Thank you for keeping your promise to my late wife. You're the only one who did. She didn't know what to say to that, so she just said thank you and hung up. Min-woo's attention was becoming harder to ignore. He was careful, respectful, never pushed. But she could see it in his eyes, the way he looked at her, the way his hand would linger when passing her something, the way he found excuses to be close. He was falling for her, or thought he was. Or maybe he just wanted to win against his brother even though there was no competition anymore. Can I ask you something? She was at his penthouse. They'd just finished dinner, were sitting on his balcony watching the city lights. What do you actually see when you look at me? He was quiet for a long moment. I see someone who survived, someone who went through hell and came out still believing in good things, someone who's kind even when kindness cost her everything. He turned to face her. I see someone I want to know better, someone I want to protect, someone I could maybe love if you'd let me. You barely know me. I know enough. I know you take your coffee with too much sugar. I know you cry during sad movies, but pretend you don't. I know you care about your students more than yourself. I know you're scared to trust anyone from my family, and I don't blame you. His hand covered hers on the armrest. I know I want to earn that trust, however long it takes. What if I can't give you what you want? What if I'm too broken from Ji-Hoon? Then we'll be broken together, or we'll be friends, or we'll figure it out as we go. He smiled. I'm not asking you to decide anything tonight. I'm just being honest about how I feel. What you do with that information is up to you. She looked at their hands, his over hers, warm and solid and real, so different from Ji-Hoon's rare, terrified touches. Minwoo wasn't afraid of her, wasn't afraid of feeling. He wore his heart openly, even knowing it might get broken. That took courage she wasn't sure she had anymore. I need more time. Her voice was soft. I need to figure out who I am without being someone's wife, without being invisible, without being anything except myself. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere. He squeezed her hand and let go. But whenever you're ready, if you're ever ready, I'm here. That's a promise. She went home that night feeling conflicted. Minwoo was everything Ji-Hoon wasn't. Open, warm, available. He made her feel seen, made her laugh, made her believe maybe she could risk her heart again. But something held her back. Some part of her that couldn't forget Ji-Hoon's letter, that couldn't stop thinking about him alone in that house, that couldn't completely let go even though she knew she should. 2 months after the divorce was finalized, she ran into Ji-Hoon at a coffee shop. She'd been sitting in the corner with her laptop working on a paper for her social work class when he walked in. He looked different, thinner, tired. His suit wasn't as perfectly pressed. His hair was slightly too long. He looked human in a way he never had before. He saw her immediately, froze. For a moment she thought he might leave. Then he walked over slowly, like approaching a wild animal. Hi. Hi. Her heart was hammering. She hated that her body still reacted to him. Hated that after everything, some part of her still felt pulled to him. Can I sit? Just for a minute? She should say no, should protect herself, should remember 3 years of pain, but curiosity won again. Always curiosity. 1 minute. He sat across from her, hands wrapped around a coffee cup he hadn't ordered. You look good. Happy. I am. Mostly. She closed her laptop. You look terrible. I feel terrible. Turns out living with yourself when you know you destroyed the best thing in your life is pretty awful. He attempted a smile. It didn't reach his eyes. But I'm working on it. Still in therapy, still trying to be better, still failing most days, but at least I'm trying. That's good. I'm glad you're getting help. Did you read it? The letter? She nodded. Several times. And it doesn't change anything. Understanding why you hurt me doesn't make the hurt disappear. It just makes it more complicated. She met his eyes. I believe you loved me in your own broken way. I believe you were terrified. I believe you thought you were protecting me. But none of that makes the last 3 years okay. I know, I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking for another chance. I know I don't deserve either. He stared at his coffee. I just wanted to see you, to make sure you're really okay, to tell you that I'm selling the house. That surprised her. Why? Because it's haunted. Every room reminds me of you, of all the ways I failed, of everything I should have done differently. His voice was rough. I'm moving into an apartment, something smaller, simpler, somewhere I can start over without ghosts. Where? Does it matter? No, I guess not, but part of her wanted to know, wanted to make sure he wasn't too close, wasn't somewhere she might run into him accidentally, wasn't in a position to slowly work his way back into her life. Ji-Hoon, you need to move on, really move on. Not just from me, but from everything. This life, this family, this darkness that's been eating you alive. I'm trying. My father is transitioning me out of the violent side of the business, putting me in charge of legitimate operations. Says it's my last chance to become something other than a killer. He looked up. Says you were right, that I need to choose who I want to be instead of just becoming what they made me. Your father said that? Turns out losing you was a wake-up call for everyone. My father included! Ji-Hoon's smile was bitter. Nothing like watching your son destroy his life to make you realize maybe you destroyed him first. They sat in silence for a moment. She didn't know what to say, didn't know how to respond to this version of Ji-Hoon who was honest and broken and trying. Part of her wanted to reach across the table, wanted to touch his hand, wanted to tell him she was proud he was trying. But she couldn't risk opening that door even a crack because she knew her own weakness, knew she was still vulnerable to him in ways that terrified her. I should go. She started packing up her laptop. I have class in an hour. Wait, please. He pulled something from his pocket. A small box. Set it on the table between them. I wanted to give you this. It was my mother's. She wanted you to have it. Made me promise the day before she died. But I couldn't. Just take it. Please. She opened the box. Inside was a delicate gold necklace with a small pendant, a lotus flower, symbol of beauty rising from mud, of purity in darkness, of hope. Tears burned her eyes. I can't take this. She wanted you to have it. She said you'd understand what it meant, that you'd know you were exactly what she hoped you'd be. His voice cracked. She saw something in you I was too blind to see. Something good and pure and strong. She wanted you to remember that even when everything else was dark. She stared at the necklace, at this gift from a woman who'd believed in her, who'd asked her to save a son who didn't want saving, who'd loved them both enough to hope they could save each other. Tell me about her, about who she really was, not the family story, the real her. Ji-Hoon's expression softened. She was fierce. That's the first thing people didn't see. Everyone thought she was gentle and kind and soft. And she was those things, but she was also fierce. She fought cancer for 18 months when doctors said 6. She fought my father when he tried to make me into a monster. She fought this whole family to try to create something good. Is that why she chose me? Because she thought I was fierce? She chose you because you reminded her of herself, before this life broke her, before the kidnapping, before the cancer. She said you had the same fire in your eyes she used to have, the same stubborn belief that good could win. He smiled, real this time. She was wrong about a lot of things, but she was right about you. You are fierce. You survived 3 years of me and came out still believing in good things. That's not weakness. That's strength. She closed the box, held it tight. Thank you for this, for telling me about her, for being honest. Thank you for listening, for giving me these few minutes, for not telling me to go to hell even though I deserve it. He stood. I hope you're happy, really happy, with Minwoo or someone else or just yourself. You deserve that. You deserve everything. He started to leave. She watched him walk away, watched this broken man who'd broken her trying to put himself back together. And before she could stop herself, before logic could override emotion, she called out, Ji-Hoon, he turned, the apartment, the one you're moving to. Is it far from here? About 3 miles. Why? Because if you need someone who understands what you're going through, you can call me. Not as your wife, not as anything except someone who was there. Someone who knows what that house meant, what that life cost. She swallowed hard. I'm not saying we can be friends. I'm not saying I forgive you. But I'm saying if you need to talk, I'll listen. Once in a while. When it's too hard to handle alone. Something broke in his expression. Hope. Dangerous, fragile hope. You don't have to do that. I know, but your mother asked me to help you, and maybe this is how I keep that promise. Not by being your wife, not by saving you, just by being someone who won't let you drown completely. She stood. But there are rules. You don't show up at my apartment. You don't try to work your way back into my life. You don't use my kindness as an excuse to not do the real work of healing. This is me being human, that's all. Okay, yes. Thank you, thank you. He looked like he might cry. I won't abuse this, I promise. I won't make you regret it. She left before she could change her mind. Before she could take it back. Before she could examine too closely why she'd just offered a lifeline to someone who'd nearly drowned her. She clutched the necklace box in her hand and tried not to think about what she'd just done. Tried not to wonder if this was compassion or stupidity. Tried not to hope that maybe people could actually change. Minwoo noticed immediately that something was different. They were having dinner at a small Italian place near her apartment. She'd been quiet all evening, pushing pasta around her plate, lost in thought. Finally, he set down his fork. What happened? I saw Ji-Hoon today. His expression darkened. Where? Coffee shop, by accident. We talked for a few minutes. She met his eyes. He's selling the house, moving into an apartment, trying to transition out of the family business, really trying to change. And you believe him? I don't know. Maybe. He gave me something his mother wanted me to have. She pulled the necklace from her bag, showed him. And I told him he could call me if he needed someone to talk to. Minwoo's jaw tightened. Why would you do that? Because I promised his mother I'd help him. Because I'm not cruel enough to watch someone drown even if they destroyed me. Because, she paused, because despite everything, I still care what happens to him. Not in a romantic way, not in a wanting him back way, just in a basic human way. You still love him, it wasn't a question. No, I loved who I thought he was. I loved the potential. I loved the hope. But I don't love him, she said, it firmly. Needed to believe it. I care about him the way you care about someone you survived something terrible with. The way soldiers care about each other after war. It's not love, it's just complicated. Complicated is generous. Minwoo leaned back. He hurt you. For 3 years he hurt you. And now he's making gestures and you're softening. This is how he gets you back. He's not trying to get me back. He's just trying not to fall apart completely. She felt defensive, angry. And I'm not softening. I'm being human. There's a difference. Is there? Because from where I'm sitting, you're making excuses for him. You're letting him back into your life the piece by piece. Next, it'll be coffee. Then dinner. Then you'll remember why you loved him and you'll forget why you left. Minwoo's voice was hard. I've seen this before. He's good at this. Making people think he's changed. Making them believe he's vulnerable when really he's just calculating his next move. That's not fair. You don't know what he's going through. I know exactly what he's going through. I know because I know my brother. I know how he operates. And I know he's using your good heart against you. He leaned forward. I care about you. Actually care about you. And I'm watching you set yourself up to get hurt again. I'm watching you give him another chance to destroy you. And I can't just sit here and pretend that's okay. Then don't sit here, she stood, threw money on the table. I don't need your permission to be kind to someone. I don't need you to protect me from my own choices. And I definitely don't need you to tell me how to feel. That's not what I'm doing. It is exactly what you're doing. You're jealous. You're angry that I still give a damn about Ji-Hoon even after everything. You're afraid that if he gets his act together, I might actually forgive him. Might actually give him another chance. Her voice rose. People were staring. She didn't care. But here's the thing. My relationship with Ji-Hoon, whatever it is or isn't, has nothing to do with you. We're friends. That's all we are. You don't get to be possessive. You don't get to dictate who I talk to or why. I'm not being possessive. I'm being realistic. You're being exactly like him, trying to control me, trying to tell me what's best for me, trying to make my choices for me." She grabbed her bag. "I left one controlling man. I'm not going to let another one take his place, even if your control comes wrapped in concern." She walked out, heard him call her name, ignored it, walked home in the dark, feeling angry and confused and tired. So tired of men who thought they knew what was best for her. So tired of having to defend her choices. So tired of being pulled between two brothers who both wanted something from her she couldn't give. Her phone rang the whole walk home. Minwoo. She ignored it. Needed space. Needed to think. Needed to figure out what she actually wanted versus what everyone else wanted from her. When she got home, there was a text from Ji-Hoon. "I heard you fought with Minwoo. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cause problems. You don't have to talk to me if it makes your life harder. I'll understand." She stared at the text, at this man who was suddenly considerate after 3 years of being anything but, at the timing that was too perfect to be coincidence. "How did you know?" she texted back. "Security saw you leave the restaurant upset. Called to make sure I wasn't causing problems for you. I told them to back off. You're not my responsibility to monitor anymore." But someone was still monitoring her, still watching, still making sure Ji-Hoon knew what was happening in her life. She should be angry about that, should be furious at the invasion of privacy. But mostly, she just felt exhausted. This family, these men, this life that kept pulling her back in even when she was trying to move forward. She didn't respond to either of them, just put on her mother's necklace, looked at herself in the mirror, tried to see what Mrs. Kim had seen, the fierce girl who could survive anything, the strong woman who could rise from mud, the hope that refused to die no matter how dark things got. But all she saw was someone tired, someone confused, someone who didn't know if she was being compassionate or stupid, if she was healing or just hurting herself in new ways, if she was strong for offering grace or weak for not cutting ties completely. Mrs. Choi showed up an hour later with soup and common sense. "Minwoo called me, said you had a fight, said you're talking to Ji-Hoon again, said I should talk sense into you." "I don't need sense talked into me. I need everyone to leave me alone." She took the soup gratefully anyway. "Why does everyone think they know what's best for me?" "Because you've been through trauma, and people who've been through trauma often make choices that look self-destructive to outsiders." Mrs. Choi sat beside her. "But here's what Minwoo doesn't understand. What maybe no one understands. You're not giving Ji-Hoon another chance at your heart. You're giving him a chance to prove people can change. That's different." "Is it?" "Yes. One is about him. One is about you. About what you need to believe to keep being the kind person you are." Mrs. Choi squeezed her hand. "Your kindness to Ji-Hoon isn't weakness. It's proof that he didn't break you, that 3 years of his cruelty didn't make you cruel. That's strength, not stupidity." Tears burned her eyes. "What if Minwoo's right, though? What if Ji-Hoon is just manipulating me? What if I'm being an idiot?" "Then you'll figure it out and walk away again, but at least you'll know you tried. At least you'll know you kept your promise to his mother. At least you'll be able to look at yourself in the mirror and know you were the bigger person." Mrs. Choi smiled. "Besides, Minwoo isn't exactly neutral here. He wants you for himself. Of course he doesn't want you anywhere near. His brother. He said he cares about me. I'm sure he does, but caring about someone and wanting what's best for them aren't always the same thing. Sometimes, caring means letting them make their own choices, even when you disagree." Mrs. Choi stood. "Eat your soup. Rest. Stop letting men dictate how you feel. And remember, you don't owe anyone anything. Not Ji-Hoon, not Minwoo, not even me. You only owe yourself honesty." After she left, the apartment felt quiet, peaceful. She ate soup and thought about honesty, about what she actually wanted, not what Ji-Hoon wanted. Not what Minwoo wanted, not what Mrs. Kim had wanted, just her. What did she want? She wanted peace. She wanted to build a life that mattered. She wanted to help people. She wanted to feel safe. She wanted to stop being afraid of her own heart. She wanted to believe people could change, because if they couldn't, what was the point of any of it? And maybe she wanted to see if Ji-Hoon could actually do it, could actually become someone different. Not because she wanted him back, not because she was still in love with him, but because it would mean something if he could. Would mean that trauma didn't have to be permanent, that damage could be healed, that darkness could find light. Would mean hope was real and not just a pretty word people used to feel better about terrible situations. Her phone buzzed. Minwoo. I'm sorry I overreacted. You're right. Your choices are your own. Can we talk tomorrow? Then Ji-Hoon. Thank you for the offer earlier. I won't take advantage of it, but it meant more than you know. Sleep well. 2 men. 2 very different approaches. One trying to control out of fear. One trying to respect out of growth. She responded to both. Told Minwoo yes, they could talk. Told Ji-Hoon to take care of himself. Put her phone away and tried to quiet the voice that said this was all going to end badly. That opening doors to the past was always a mistake. That some things were better left alone. But she'd never been good at leaving things alone, had never been able to walk past suffering without trying to help. That's what had made her a good nurse. What had made her care for Mrs. Kim even when it was hard. What had made her agree to marry Ji-Hoon in the first place. She couldn't stop being who she was just because it was safer. Couldn't stop believing in redemption just because it was easier. So she'd offer grace. She'd keep her promise. She'd see what happened. And if it all went wrong, at least she'd know she tried. At least she'd know she was still capable of kindness after everything. At least she'd know she was fierce enough to risk hope one more time. The next morning, Minwoo showed up at her door with coffee and an apology. I was out of line. I let my own feelings cloud my judgment. Your relationship with Ji-Hoon is yours to navigate. I have no right to tell you what to do. She let him in, took the coffee, sat on her couch while he stood awkwardly by the door like he wasn't sure he was welcome. I appreciate the apology, but Minwoo, we need to be honest about what this is between us. What do you mean? I mean you have feelings for me. Real feelings. And I care about you. But I don't know if I can give you what you want. I don't know if I'm capable of that right now. Maybe ever. She set down the coffee. It's not fair to let you keep hoping if there's no future there. He sat beside her. Not too close, respectful of her space. I told you I'd wait. I meant it. But what are you waiting for? For me to fall in love with you? For me to get over Ji-Hoon? For some magical moment where everything clicks into place? She turned to face him. That might never happen. You could wait forever and I could still never be able to give you what you want. Is that really how you want to spend your life? If it means having you in it, yes. That's not healthy for either of us. She took his hand. You deserve someone who chooses you completely, without hesitation, without complications, without constantly comparing you to someone else. And you think you're doing that? Comparing me to Ji-Hoon? I don't know. Maybe. You're so different from him. You're warm where he was cold, open where he was closed, present where he was absent. Sometimes I wonder if I'm drawn to you because you're genuinely right for me, or just because you're the opposite of what hurt me. She squeezed his hand. That's not fair to you. You're not a rebound. You're not therapy. You're a person who deserves to be someone's first choice, not their safe option. Minwoo was quiet for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was thick. What if I'm okay being the safe option? What if I'd rather have part of you than none of you? Then you'd be settling. And you deserve better than that. She let go of his hand. I think we need space. Real space. Not seeing each other every few days. Not constant texting. Just space to figure out who we are separately before we figure out if there's an us. You're ending this. I'm not ending anything because there's nothing to end. We're friends. We've always been just friends, no matter what either of us might have hoped for. She felt tears threaten. But I think we need to be honest that friendship has gotten complicated, that feelings are there that can't be acted on, that continuing like this is just going to hurt us both. So what are you saying? We don't see each other anymore? I'm saying we take a break, a real one, a few months maybe. Time for you to figure out if you actually want me or if you just wanted to win against Ji-Hoon. Time for me to figure out what I want without the pressure of your feelings hanging over everything. Time for both of us to breathe. She wiped her eyes. If the friendship is real, it'll survive space. If it's not, then we need to know that now before either of us gets hurt worse. He stood, paced to the window, stared out at the city. I don't want space. I want you, but I understand why you need it. I understand that pushing will only drive you away. He turned back. How long? I don't know. 3 months? 6 months? However long it takes for us both to get clear heads. And Ji-Hoon? Are you taking space from him too? That's different. I'm not romantically involved with Ji-Hoon. I'm not risking my heart with him. I'm just offering basic human support to someone who's struggling. There's no feelings to navigate there. Minwoo's laugh was bitter. You really believe that? You really think there's no feelings between you and Ji-Hoon? Not the kind that matter, not the kind that lead anywhere. Just complicated history and kept promises, and trying to be the person his mother thought I was. She stood, walked over to him. But this, with you, it's different. It's present tense instead of past. It's possible instead of over. And that makes it scarier. That makes it something I need to be sure about before I risk it. He cupped her face. Gentle. Sad. I'll give you space, as much as you need. But I'm not giving up on us. I'm not walking away. I'm just stepping back until you're ready to step forward. He kissed her forehead. A goodbye that felt too much like an ending. Take care of yourself. Don't let either of the Kim brothers destroy what makes you special. After he left, she sat in the quiet apartment and wondered if she'd just made a terrible mistake. If pushing away someone who actually cared about her was self-sabotage disguised as self-protection. If she was using space as an excuse to avoid being vulnerable again. If she was so broken from Ji-Hoon that she couldn't recognize good when it was right in front of her. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Ji-Hoon. New phone. Just wanted you to have the number in case you needed it. No pressure to use it. No expectation. Just there if you need it. She saved the number. Stared at it. Thought about how easy it would be to delete it. To cut him out completely. To protect herself from any possibility of being hurt again. But she didn't. She kept it. Because some part of her, the part that Mrs. Kim had seen and believed in, still thought people deserved chances. Still thought redemption was possible. Still thought that maybe, just maybe, broken things could be fixed if everyone was brave enough to try. The weeks that followed were strange. Quiet in a way her life hadn't been since before the marriage. No Ji-Hoon, no Minwoo, just her and her work and her studies and her small apartment. She threw herself into her classes, spent extra hours at the community center, started volunteering at a women's shelter on weekends, built a life that was full and meaningful and entirely her own. Mrs. Choi visited once a week, brought food and gossip and updates on the Kim family she didn't ask for but secretly wanted. Ji-Hoon sold the house, moved into a small apartment in Gangnam, very modest compared to before. His father is pleased with the changes, says he's actually showing up to legitimate business meetings now instead of just handling the dark operations. That's good. I'm glad he's making progress. Minwoo is miserable, throwing himself into work, dating different women every week trying to forget about you. Mrs. Choi's look was pointed. He's hurting. I know, But space is what we both need. If he really cares, he'll understand that eventually. And if he doesn't, then it was never real. Then it was just him wanting what he couldn't have. And I'm better off knowing that now. She picked at her food. How do you know so much about what's happening with them anyway? Mrs. Choi smiled mysteriously. I have my sources. The Kim household staff talks, and I've worked for that family for 20 years. I know everything that happens in that world, whether I want to or not. Do they ask about me? Ji-Hoon and Minwoo? All the time. Ji-Hoon asks if you're eating well, if you're safe, if you're happy. He never asks if you're seeing anyone, or if you miss him. Just practical things. Mrs. Choi paused. Minwoo asks different questions. If you've mentioned him, if you seem lonely, if you're still talking to Ji-Hoon, he's jealous even now, even with the space you demanded. That's not my problem to manage? No, it's not. But it tells you something about the difference between them. One is learning to let go. One is holding tighter. Mrs. Choi squeezed her hand. Just be careful. Both of them love you in their own broken ways, but only one of them is learning what real love actually means. After she left, those words haunted her. Both of them love you. Did they? Could they? Or was it just guilt and obsession dressed up as something deeper? She didn't know, couldn't trust her own judgment anymore. Had been wrong about so many things already. A month into the space from Minwoo, Ji-Hoon called. Late at night. His voice was rough. I'm sorry to bother you. I know it's late. I'm having a bad night. My therapist is out of town and I don't have anyone else I can talk to without them using it against me. What's wrong? Panic attack. First one in years. I thought I was past this, but I guess not. She could hear him breathing hard, trying to control it, failing. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have called. I'll figure it out. Don't hang up, just breathe. Count with me. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. She walked him through it, heard his breathing slowly even out, heard the panic recede. Better? Yeah. Thank you. I'm sorry. This is pathetic. Calling my ex-wife because I can't handle my own emotions. It's not pathetic, it's human. It's growth. A year ago, you wouldn't have called anyone. You would have just suffered alone and let it destroy you. She sat on her couch, settled in. What triggered it? I was at a family dinner. My father was talking about expanding into new territory, which means violence, which means exactly what I'm trying to leave behind. And everyone was just accepting it, like it's normal, like destroying lives is just business. His voice cracked, and I realized I've spent my entire life thinking that was normal, thinking violence was just what we did. And now that I'm trying to be different, I don't know who I am anymore. Don't know how to exist in that world without being the monster they made me. Then maybe you can't exist in that world. Maybe being different means leaving completely. And go where? Do what? This is all I know. This is all I've ever been. That's not true. Your mother said you used to play piano, used to bring her flowers, used to be kind before they trained it out of you. She pulled a blanket over her lap. Those parts of you still exist. They're just buried. Maybe it's time to dig them up. I don't know if I can. You called me tonight instead of handling this alone. That's proof you can. That's proof you're already different than you were. She heard him breathe out slowly. Change is terrifying, but you're doing it. Every day. Every choice to be better instead of easier. That counts. They talked for an hour. About his therapy. About the legitimate businesses he was trying to understand. About how strange it felt to go to work without blood under his fingernails. About his fear that he was too broken to ever be truly good. She listened, offered what comfort she could, reminded him that healing wasn't linear, that setbacks were normal, that he was human, and humans were messy and complicated, and that was okay. When they finally hung up, she sat in the dark, thinking about the man on the other end of the phone. This version of Ji-Hoon who called when he was scared instead of disappearing, who admitted weakness instead of hiding it, who was trying so hard to be different even when it would be easier to stay the same. This wasn't the man who'd ignored her for 3 years. This was someone new, someone real, someone she could almost believe in. Her phone buzzed. A text from him. "Thank you for not telling me to figure it out alone, for treating me like I'm worth saving even when I don't believe it myself." "Sleep well," she responded simply. "You are worth saving. Keep trying. Good night." Then she sat there holding her phone and wondering what she was doing. If offering support was compassion, or if it was opening a door she'd sworn she'd keep closed. If helping him heal was noble, or if it was just setting herself up to get hurt all over again. If she was being the fierce woman Mrs. Kim believed in, or if she was being a fool. 2 months into her space from Minwoo, he showed up at the community center. She was leaving after an evening class when she found him waiting by her car. He looked different, thinner, worn down, like the weeks without her had taken a visible toll. "I know you said space. I know I'm not supposed to be here, but I couldn't stay away anymore." His voice was desperate. "I need to know if there's any chance, any hope at all, because if there's not, I need to move on, really move on, not just pretend. Min-woo! I'm in love with you, actually in love, not as revenge, not as competition, just you." He stepped closer. "I've dated other women, trying to get over you, trying to convince myself this was just infatuation or proximity or anything except real. But it is real, and it's killing me to stay away. That's not love, that's obsession. There's a difference. Don't tell me what I feel. Don't minimize this because it makes you uncomfortable." His voice rose. "I know the difference between wanting something and loving it. And I love you. I love how kind you are, even after being hurt. I love how you still believe in good things. I love how you give people chances they don't deserve. I love you, and I need to know if there's any possibility you could love me back." She felt trapped, cornered, like no matter what she said, someone was going to get hurt. "I care about you, I do, but I'm not in love with you. I don't know if I ever will be. And I think you deserve to know that honestly, instead of me stringing you along with maybes." "So that's it? You've decided? After 2 months of space, you're just done?" "I'm not done. I just know myself well enough to know that if I was going to fall in love with you, I would have by now. You've been nothing but good to me. You've been patient and kind and everything I should want. But love isn't logical. It's not a checklist. And I can't force myself to feel something that isn't there, just because it would be easier, or safer, or make more sense." It's Ji-Hoon. It wasn't a question. It was an accusation. "You're still holding on to him, still hoping he'll become someone worth having, still wasting your heart on someone who destroyed it. This has nothing to do with Ji-Hoon." "Bullshit. Everything has to do with Ji-Hoon. He's the reason you can't move forward. He's the ghost between us. He's the standard I'll never meet because you've romanticized what could have been instead of seeing what actually was." Minwoo's hands were fists. "You're lying to yourself. You're pretending you're over him while still taking his calls, still offering him support, still being the person his mother wanted you to be. You never left that marriage. You just moved out of the house. That's not fair." "Fair? You want to talk about fair?" His voice was sharp, cruel in a way she'd never heard from him before. "I've been nothing but fair. I've been patient. I've been understanding. I've given you space. I've respected your boundaries. And what do I get? Nothing, because I'm not broken enough. I'm not damaged enough. I'm not my brother, and apparently that's the problem. You're being cruel. I'm being honest, something you're clearly incapable of." He turned away, turned back. "You know what I think? I think you don't want to heal. I think you want to stay broken because it's easier than risking being whole. Because being whole means being vulnerable again, means opening your heart again, means possibly getting hurt again. And you're too scared to do that. Tears burned her eyes. You don't know what you're talking about. I know exactly what I'm talking about. I know because I've watched you for months. I've seen how you are with Ji-Hoon, how you soften when he calls, how you worry about him, how you check your phone hoping it's him even when you pretend you're over it. He stepped closer. You're not over him. You never will be. And I'm done being the consolation prize. Done being the nice guy who never gets chosen. Done pretending this is going somewhere when you've already decided it's not. Min-woo, please, save it. I don't need your pity, or your explanations, or your gentle letdown. He was walking away. I hope you and Ji-Hoon figure out whatever toxic thing you have going on. I hope it makes you happy. But leave me out of it. I'm done. He drove off, left her standing in the parking lot crying, left her feeling like she'd been punched, left her wondering if he was right, if she was holding on to Ji-Hoon in ways she wasn't admitting, if she was using her trauma as an excuse to avoid being vulnerable, if she was too broken to love anyone properly ever again. She drove home shaking, called Mrs. Choi, who came over immediately with tea and tissues and no judgment. He said terrible things, things that felt designed to hurt. That's what people do when they're hurting. They try to make you hurt too. Mrs. Choi rubbed her back. But that doesn't mean he was right. That doesn't mean you owe him love just because he wants it. What if he is right, though? What if I am still holding on to Ji-Hoon? What if I'm lying to myself? Then so what? So what if you still have complicated feelings for your ex-husband? That doesn't make you broken. That makes you human. Mrs. Choi forced her to look up. You went through trauma, real trauma, 3 years of emotional neglect and manipulation. That doesn't just go away because the divorce is final. That doesn't heal on someone else's timeline. But I should be over it by now. I should be able to move on. Says who? Says Min-woo, who wants you available? Says society that thinks women should bounce back from hurt like rubber balls? Says you, who's being way too hard on yourself? Mrs. Choi shook her head. Healing takes time. Sometimes years, sometimes forever. And you get to decide what that looks like. Not Min-woo, not Ji-Hoon, not anyone except you. She cried into Mrs. Choi's shoulder like a child. Cried for the mess she'd made of everything. Cried for hurting Min-woo even when she'd tried so hard not to. Cried for still caring about Ji-Hoon even when she knew she shouldn't. Cried for being so confused about what she wanted and what she felt and what any of it meant. That night, Ji-Hoon called. She almost didn't answer. Almost sent it to voicemail because she couldn't handle one more emotion. But something made her pick up. Hey. I heard about Min-woo, I'm sorry. His voice was gentle, concerned. Are you okay? How did you hear? He called me, told me I won, told me to treat you better than I did last time because if I hurt you again, he'd destroy me. Ji-Hoon paused. He's really in love with you. Like actually in love. Not just wanting, I could hear it in his voice. I know. That's what makes it worse. He deserves someone who loves him back, and I can't be that person. She pulled her knees to her chest. He said, I'm still holding on to you. That you're the reason I can't move forward. Is he right? Silence. Long enough that she thought he might have hung up. Then, I don't know. Are you? I don't know either. I don't know what I feel anymore. I don't know if I'm being compassionate or if I'm being stupid. I don't know if talking to you is healthy or if it's just another way I'm hurting myself. She felt tears come again. I'm so tired, Ji-Hoon. I'm so tired of being confused. I'm so tired of not knowing what I want. I'm so tired of feeling broken. You're not broken. You're healing. There's a difference. Healing is supposed to get easier. This just feels like I'm falling apart. That's because healing is falling apart. It's breaking down all the walls you built to survive. It's letting yourself feel everything you've been avoiding. It's messy and painful, and it feels like dying, but it's not. It's growing. His voice was soft. My therapist says we have to break before we can rebuild. We have to acknowledge what's damaged before we can fix it. So maybe falling apart is exactly what you're supposed to be doing. When did you get so wise? When I finally admitted I needed help. When I stopped pretending I was fine. When I looked at myself honestly for the first time in 17 years and saw how broken I actually was. He breathed out slowly. You helped me do that. You being honest about how I hurt you. You leaving. You refusing to let me hide from what I'd done. That was the catalyst. So if you're falling apart now, maybe that's your catalyst. Maybe that's what you need to finally heal. I don't want to fall apart. I want to be strong. You are strong, strong enough to leave, strong enough to start over, strong enough to be honest about your confusion. That's real strength, not pretending you're fine, not having all the answers, just being brave enough to keep going even when it's hard. He paused. I'm proud of you. For what it's worth. I'm proud of who you're becoming, who you've always been, who I was too blind to see. Something in her chest cracked open. Don't say things like that. Why not? It's true. Because it makes this harder. Because it makes me wonder what if. Because it makes me think maybe Minwoo was right, and I am holding on to something that doesn't exist anymore. Her voice broke. We're divorced, Ji-Hoon. We're over. We have to stay over. I know. I'm not asking for anything. I'm not hoping for anything. I'm just being honest. His voice was rough. But you're right. I should stop. I should give you real space. Not this half space where I'm still in your life, but not really. You can't heal if I'm still here reminding you of what hurt you. No, don't. Please don't disappear again. The words came out desperate, revealing. I need to know you're okay. I need to know the changes are real. What do you need? I don't know. She was crying again. I don't know what I need, or want, or feel. I just know that the thought of you not being in my life at all makes me panic. And I don't know if that's trauma, or attachment, or something else entirely. It's okay not to know. It's okay to be confused. It's okay to have complicated feelings about complicated situations. He was quiet for a moment. How about this? I'll still be here, still available if you need to talk. But I'll stop calling first. I'll let you decide when, and if you want contact. I'll give you control that I should have given you 3 years ago. That's not fair to you. Fair doesn't matter. What matters is what's healthy for you, what helps you heal, and if that means me stepping back, I'll step back, even if it kills me. His voice was thick. I love you. I'm in love with you. Have been since the day we married, even if I was too broken to show it. But love isn't about what I want. It's about what's best for you. And right now, what's best is me giving you space to figure out who you are without either of the Kim brothers in your way. You love me. She said it like she didn't believe it, like the words were foreign. I love you. I'm sorry it took me 3 years and a divorce to be brave enough to say it. I'm sorry I realized it too late. I'm sorry for everything. He was crying. She could hear it. But I mean it. I love you. And because I love you, I'm letting you go. Really letting you go. Not the fake version where I kept you at distance. The real version where I step back and let you fly. Ji-Hoon, goodbye. For now. Not forever. Just for now. Until you're ready. Until you know what you want. Until you're healed enough to make choices from strength instead of confusion. He paused. I'll be here. Whenever you're ready. Whatever you decide. But I won't push. I won't chase. I'll just be here. Waiting. Hoping. Loving you from a distance. He hung up. Left her holding a phone, and a heart that felt like it was being torn in two. Left her with words she'd waited 3 years to hear that came too late to matter. left her more confused than ever about what she wanted and what she felt, and whether love could survive being expressed after everything was already broken. She sat in the dark for a long time, thought about Ji-Hoon's words, about Minwoo's anger, about her own confusion, about what it meant that both brothers loved her in their own ways, and she couldn't love either of them back properly, about whether she was broken or just healing, about whether falling apart was failure or progress. Mrs. Choi had gone home. The apartment was quiet. She put on the lotus necklace, looked at herself in the mirror, tried to see the fierce woman, the strong one, the one who could survive anything. But all she saw was someone lost, someone who didn't know who she was without trauma defining her, someone who'd built her entire identity around surviving and now didn't know how to actually live. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "This is Minwoo's father. We need to talk. It's urgent. Please call me when you see this." She stared at the message, at this new complication in an already impossible situation, at whatever crisis was coming, because nothing could ever just be simple. She thought about ignoring it, about pretending she hadn't seen it, about protecting herself from whatever drama the Kim family was about to drag her into. But she'd never been good at ignoring things, had never been able to walk away from problems even when they weren't hers to solve. So she called. The old man answered immediately. "Thank you for calling. I know this is strange, but I need to see you. Tomorrow, if possible. It's about my sons. About you. About something that needs to be said face to face." "What is this about? Everything, nothing, the future," he sighed. "Please, 1 hour of your time, that's all I'm asking. Meet me at the tea house on Samcheong-dong, 2 o'clock. I'll explain everything." She should say no, should protect her boundaries, should refuse to get pulled deeper into this family's dysfunction. But curiosity won. It always did. "Fine. 2 o'clock. 1 hour. That's it. That's all I need. Thank you. Sleep well." She hung up and wondered what she'd just agreed to. What new manipulation was coming? What fresh hell the Kim family had planned? But she'd show up. She'd listen. Because that's what she did. She showed up. She listened. She tried to help even when helping hurt her. She just hoped this time it wouldn't destroy her completely. The next day crawled by. She taught her morning class distracted. Worked on a paper she couldn't focus on. Ate lunch she didn't taste. Finally, it was time. She dressed carefully, professional, armor disguised as business casual. Drove to the tea house, trying not to think about what was coming. The old man was already there, sitting in a private room overlooking a garden that was starting to bloom. He stood when she entered, bowed respectfully, gestured to the seat across from him. "Thank you for coming. I know you have every reason to refuse." "What is this about?" "My sons, both of them, and the choice you're going to have to make." He poured tea with steady hands. "I've been watching you for 3 years, watching how you survived Ji-Hoon's neglect, how you built a life despite him, how you showed grace to both my sons even when they didn't deserve it. You're remarkable. Exactly what my late wife saw in you." "I'm not remarkable. I'm just tired." "No, you're strong, stronger than anyone in my family, and that strength is about to be tested." He met her eyes. "Minwoo is leaving, moving back to Europe. He can't stay here watching you and Ji-Hoon. It's destroying him. He wanted to say goodbye, but he's too angry, too hurt. So he asked me to tell you." Her chest tightened. "When?" "Next week. He's already sold his apartment, transferred his business holdings. He's done." The old man's expression was sad. "He loved you, really loved you, but you couldn't love him back, and he's smart enough to know that staying will only make it worse." "I never wanted to hurt him." "I know, but we can't control who we love. We can only control what we do with that love." He sipped his tea. Which brings me to Ji-Hoon. He's changing. Really changing. Not just therapy and surface improvements. Deep work. Hard work. He's becoming someone different. Someone his mother would be proud of. That's good. I'm glad. But it's not enough, is it? Because the damage is done. Because 3 years can't be erased by a few months of growth. Because trust, once broken, is almost impossible to rebuild. He set down his cup. He loves you. Actually loves you. Not the broken, possessive thing it was before. Real love, selfless love, the kind that lets go when holding on would hurt. Why are you telling me this? Because you need to make a choice. A real one. Not the half choice you've been making where you keep both my sons at arm's length while you figure yourself out. His voice was firm but not unkind. Minwoo deserves to leave knowing you've made a decision. Ji-Hoon deserves to know if there's any hope or if he should move on too. And you deserve to stop living in limbo. That's not fair. I don't owe anyone a decision on anyone's timeline but my own. You're right. You don't. But limbo is its own kind of prison, and I'm watching you suffocate in it. He leaned forward. I'm not telling you what to choose. I'm telling you that not choosing is still a choice. And it's the one that hurts everyone most, including you. She felt anger rise. You don't get to tell me when I'm ready. You don't get to pressure me into deciding something this complicated just because it's convenient for your sons. I'm not pressuring you into anything. I'm asking you to be honest with yourself about what you want, because I think you already know. I think you've known for a while. You're just too scared to admit it. His eyes were knowing, too knowing. You're scared that if you admit what you want, you'll have to risk being hurt again. You're scared that choosing means being vulnerable. You're scared that love will destroy you the way it almost did before. Stop. Why? Because I'm right? Because you don't want to hear the truth? He wasn't being cruel, just direct. You can't heal if you're still hiding. You can't move forward if you're standing still. You can't build a life if you're too afraid to choose one. Tears burned her eyes. What if I choose wrong? What if I give someone another chance and they destroy me? What if I close a door that should have stayed open? What if I make a mistake I can't take back? Then you'll survive it, just like you survived everything else. Just like you survived 3 years of being invisible. Just like you survived a divorce. Just like you survived 2 brothers falling in love with you. His voice softened. You're not fragile, you're fierce. Stop acting like you'll break at the first wrong step. You're stronger than that. She wiped her eyes. I don't feel strong. No one feels strong when they're being brave. That's what makes it brave. He stood. I'm not asking for an answer today. I'm asking you to think about it. Really think. Not about what you should do or what's safe or what makes sense, but what you actually want. What your heart is telling you when you're quiet enough to listen. And if my heart doesn't know, then maybe you're not listening to your heart. Maybe you're listening to your fear. He moved toward the door. Minwoo leaves in a week. If you want to say goodbye, you should do it soon. If you don't want to see him, that's fine too, but at least make that decision consciously instead of avoiding it until it's too late. After he left, she sat alone in the tea room for a long time, stared at the garden, at the flowers blooming despite the cold, at life persisting even when conditions weren't perfect, at beauty rising from difficulty, like the lotus on her necklace, like what Mrs. Kim had believed she could be. She thought about Minwoo, about his warmth and charm and the way he'd made her feel seen, about how he'd been kind when she was starving for kindness, about how he'd offered her support when she had nothing, about how he'd loved her even knowing she might not love him back. He deserved better than her confusion, better than her inability to choose, better than being the option she kept around just in case. She thought about Ji-Hoon, about 3 years of pain and neglect and invisibility, about the letter full of apologies and truth, about the phone calls where he was vulnerable and real, about the changes he was making, about the man he was becoming versus the man he'd been. about whether people could actually change, or if patterns were just patterns, and she was a fool for hoping. She thought about herself, about who she was before the marriage, about who she'd become during it, about who she was trying to be now, about whether she was healing or just hiding, about whether she was being wise or just being scared, about what she actually wanted versus what she thought she should want. The truth, when it came, was quiet. Not a revelation, not a dramatic moment, just a simple knowing that settled in her chest, like coming home. She knew what she wanted, had known for a while, had been too scared to admit it, because admitting it meant being vulnerable, meant risking everything, meant potentially getting destroyed all over again. But Mrs. Kim had been right. She was fierce, and fierce meant being brave even when it was terrifying, meant choosing even when the choice could break her, meant hoping even when hope had hurt her before. She drove to Minwoo's apartment, used the code he'd given her months ago that she'd never used, found him packing boxes in his living room that used to be full of life and was now being dismantled. He looked up when she entered. Surprise crossed his face, then wariness. "I heard you're leaving." "My father told you." "Of course he did." Minwoo went back to packing. "I'm assuming you're here to tell me you're sorry, that you care about me but not that way, that you hope we can stay friends. Save it. I've already heard that speech. I'm here to tell you the truth, the real truth, not the kind version I gave you before." She sat on his couch, forced him to look at her. "I don't love you. I won't ever love you. And you deserve to know that with certainty so you can actually move on instead of holding on to hope that will never materialize." He flinched. "I already knew that." "No, you thought you knew that. But part of you still hoped. Part of you thought if you were patient enough, if you loved me enough, if you proved yourself enough, I'd eventually feel the same way." She held his gaze. "I won't. Because my heart belongs to someone else. It always has. Even when I didn't want it to. Even when I tried to give it to you. Even when it made no logical sense. It's his, and I need to stop pretending otherwise." Ji-Hoon, the name was bitter in his mouth. "After everything he did to you, after everything he did to me, after 3 years of hell, after a divorce, after he broke my heart so thoroughly, I thought I'd never feel whole again." She felt tears come. "I still love him. I'm still in love with him. And I hate that. I hate that after everything, he's still the one I want. But I can't keep lying about it. Not to you, not to myself. You're making a mistake. Maybe, probably, but it's my mistake to make." She stood. "I'm sorry I couldn't be what you wanted. I'm sorry I let this go on as long as I did. I'm sorry I hurt you. You deserved better than someone who was always going to choose someone else." "Does he know that you love him?" "Not yet. But he will, because I'm done being scared. I'm done hiding. I'm done protecting myself from hurt by refusing to live." She moved toward the door. "I hope you find someone who loves you the way you deserve to be loved. Completely. Without hesitation. Without having to compete with ghosts. You're a good man, Minwoo. You'll make someone very happy. It just won't be me." She left him standing in his half-packed apartment. Left him with the truth he'd probably known but hadn't wanted to face. Left him hurt, but at least not in limbo anymore. At least not wondering. At least able to actually move on instead of holding on to false hope. Then she drove to Ji-Hoon's new apartment. Small building in Gangnam. Nothing like the estate. So normal it was almost shocking. She stood outside his door for a long time. Tried to rehearse what she'd say. How she'd explain. What words would make this make sense? But there were no right words, no perfect explanation, just truth. Messy and complicated and terrifying truth. She knocked. He answered in sweatpants and a t-shirt, casual in a way she'd never seen him. Hair messy. No armor. just him. His eyes widened when he saw her. "What are you doing here? Can I come in?" He stepped back, led her into a space that was sparse but clean, minimal furniture, books on shelves, a piano in the corner that looked new, evidence of a life being rebuilt from scratch. She looked around, took it all in. This version of Ji-Hoon who lived simply, who played piano again, who was becoming something new. "You're scaring me." His voice was uncertain. "Did something happen? Are you okay?" "I'm not okay. I haven't been okay for a long time, but I'm trying to be." She turned to face him. "Your father called me, told me I needed to make a choice, told me limbo was a prison, told me to be honest about what I want." "And?" His hands were shaking. She could see them trembling at his sides. "What do you want?" "I went to see Minwoo, told him the truth, that I don't love him, that I won't ever love him, that my heart belongs to someone else." She took a step closer. "Then I came here because you're that someone else. You've always been that someone else. Even when I didn't want you to be. Even when it made no sense. Even when loving you felt like choosing to hurt myself on purpose." He went very still. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I'm still in love with you. I'm saying 3 years of hell and a divorce and months apart didn't change that. I'm saying I've been lying to myself and everyone else, trying to pretend I was over you when I never was." Her voice cracked. "I'm saying I'm terrified and confused, and this is probably the stupidest decision I've ever made, but I can't keep pretending I don't want you." "You want me." He said it like he couldn't believe it, like the words didn't make sense. "After everything I did, after how I destroyed us, you want me." "I want you. I want to try again. I want to see if we can build something real this time. I want to risk getting hurt because the alternative is spending my life wondering what if." She was crying now. "But I need you to understand something. I'm not the woman I was 3 years ago. I'm not going to disappear. I'm not going to be invisible. I'm not going to accept crumbs and call it love. If we do this, we do it right, honestly, as equals, or we don't do it at all." He closed the distance between them, cupped her face with shaking hands. "I don't deserve this. I don't deserve you giving me another chance. I don't deserve anything except your anger and your hatred. I know, but I'm giving it anyway, because people change, because you're changing, because I believe in redemption even when it's hard." She covered his hands with hers. "Because I love you, and love isn't about deserve. It's about choice, and I'm choosing you. Terrified and uncertain and probably crazy, but I'm choosing you." He kissed her. Finally. After 3 years of distance, and walls and fear, he kissed her like she was air and he was drowning, like she was the only real thing in a world of shadows, like she was everything he'd been too broken to reach for and was finally brave enough to touch. She kissed him back, poured 3 years of loneliness and hurt and hope into it. Let herself feel everything she'd been hiding. Let herself want without apology. Let herself risk everything on the possibility that maybe, love could survive being broken. When they finally pulled apart, both were crying. He pressed his forehead to hers. "I love you. I'm so in love with you, it's terrifying. I'll spend the rest of my life proving I've changed, proving you made the right choice, proving I can be the man you deserve. I don't need you to prove anything. I just need you to be honest, to be present, to actually let me in instead of pushing me away when things get hard." She held his face. "I need you to love me out loud, not silently, not from a distance. Actually love me where I can see it and feel it and know it's real. I can do that. I want to do that. I've been waiting 3 years to do that." He pulled her close, held her like she might disappear. "I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to have bad days. I'm going to struggle with opening up because I've spent 17 years doing the opposite. But I promise, I'll try. I promise I won't run. I promise you'll never be invisible to me again." That's all I'm asking. Just try. Just stay. Just let me in." They stood there holding each other in his small apartment that was nothing like the prison of the estate. Stood there, choosing each other despite everything logical saying they shouldn't. Stood there being brave enough to hope, brave enough to risk, brave enough to believe that broken things could be fixed if everyone was willing to do the work. "What do we do now?" His voice was soft against her hair. "Now we start over, properly this time. We date. We take it slow. We build trust. We figure out who we are together when we're both actually present." She pulled back to look at him. "And if it doesn't work, if the damage is too deep, if we can't get past what happened, we walk away knowing we tried. But at least we try. At least we give this a real chance, instead of the fake version we had before." "A real chance. I like that." He smiled. Actually smiled. The kind that reached his eyes and made him look years younger. "Can I take you to dinner, like a real first date, tomorrow night?" "Yes, tomorrow night. Somewhere that's not a family function or a performance. Somewhere we can just be us." "I know just the place. Small, quiet, good food. No ghosts." He kissed her forehead. "Thank you for being brave enough to give me this. For not giving up on me even when you should have. For being the fierce woman my mother knew you were." She touched the lotus necklace at her throat. Thought about Mrs. Kim, about promises kept and hope vindicated, about beauty rising from mud, about surviving and becoming something stronger for it. Your mother would be proud of you, of both of us, for finally figuring it out. She would. She'd also tell me not to screw this up, that this is my last chance, that if I hurt you again, she'll haunt me from the grave. His smile turned sad. And she'd be right. Then don't screw it up. I won't. I promise. On her memory, on everything I am or will be, I won't screw this up. She kissed him again, softer this time, full of promise instead of desperation, full of hope instead of fear, full of the possibility that maybe, just maybe, second chances were real and love could survive being tested and people could change if they wanted it badly enough. When she finally left his apartment hours later, the sun was setting, painting the sky in oranges and pinks. The city looked different somehow, brighter, full of possibility. She drove home thinking about tomorrow's date, about starting over, about building something real with someone who'd finally learned how to be present. Her phone buzzed. "Minwoo. I heard. Ji-Hoon called me. Wanted my blessing, apparently. I told him if he hurts you again, I'll destroy him. Then I told him to make you happy. Because despite everything, you deserve that. Be happy. Both of you." She felt tears threaten again. This man who had loved her was letting her go with grace, was choosing her happiness over his hurt, was being bigger than his pain. "Thank you for everything, for being kind when I needed it, for understanding even when it hurt. I hope you find what you're looking for." His response was immediate. "I already found it. She just belongs to someone else. Take care of yourself." Then nothing, just silence, the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. She drove home, feeling like she'd survived something monumental, like she'd made it through a war and was finally seeing peace, like she'd chosen something terrifying and beautiful and impossibly hopeful. Mrs. Choi was waiting at her apartment with food and knowing eyes. "You saw Ji-Hoon. How did you know?" "Because you look different. Lighter, like you finally made a decision instead of running from one." Mrs. Choi hugged her tight. "Mrs. Kim would be so proud. So very proud. I hope so. I hope I'm doing the right thing." "There is no right thing. There's only your thing, the choice that feels true to who you are." Mrs. Choi pulled back. "And this feels true, doesn't it? Even if it's scary, even if it could go wrong, it feels right." It does. It feels like coming home, like finding something I'd lost, like choosing hope even when hope is terrifying. She smiled through tears. Is that crazy? After everything? Is it crazy to choose him? Maybe, but the best things usually are. Mrs. Choi guided her to sit. Now, eat and tell me everything. She ate and talked and laughed and cried, told Mrs. Choi about the kiss, about the promises, about the dinner tomorrow, about starting over, about second chances and fierce hearts and lotus flowers growing from mud, about being brave enough to risk everything on the possibility of love, and for the first time in 3 years, she felt like herself. Not the invisible wife, not the broken divorcee, not the woman caught between two brothers, just herself, whole and real, and choosing her own path even when that path was uncertain. That night, she slept better than she had in months, dreamed of dinner dates and honest conversations, and building something real with someone who finally knew how to show up. Dreamed of Mrs. Kim smiling and nodding and saying, "See? I told you he was worth saving. I told you that you were the one who could reach him." And maybe she had been. Maybe that had been the point all along. Not the marriage, not the contract, not the 3 years of hell, but the moment after, the choosing, the risking, the being brave enough to hope when hope seemed impossible. She woke up to a text from Ji-Hoon. "Good morning. I know our date isn't until tonight, but I wanted you to know I'm already counting down the hours. Already excited to see you. Already grateful for this chance." "Sleep well? Better than I have in years," she texted back. "See you tonight." She spent the day preparing, not just her clothes or makeup, but herself, her heart, her hope, her willingness to be vulnerable again. It was terrifying. But it was also exhilarating, like jumping off a cliff and trusting there'd be something to catch her. The restaurant he chose was perfect, small, intimate, quiet. Nothing like the loud family dinners or the awkward silences of the estate. Just a table for two and food that smelled amazing and soft music in the background. He was already there when she arrived, stood when he saw her, pulled out her chair, looked at her like she was the most important person in the world. "You look beautiful. You look different. Good different." And he did. Relaxed in a way she'd never seen. Present in a way he never had been. Real instead of armored. They ordered food and talked. Really talked about his therapy and what he was learning. About her classes and her dreams of being a social worker. About his transition out of the violent side of the business and what that meant for his future. About her work at the community center and the women she was helping. About everything and nothing. About the small things that made them who they were. "I want to know everything about you." His hand covered hers on the table. "All the things I should have learned 3 years ago. All the things I was too broken to care about. Tell me about foster care. Tell me about why you became a nurse. Tell me about your dreams and fears and what makes you happy." So she told him, opened up in ways she never had. About growing up feeling invisible. About becoming a nurse because she wanted to help people feel seen. About meeting his mother and how that kindness had changed her. About marrying him full of hope that died slowly over 3 years. About leaving and rebuilding and learning to be brave. He listened, really listened, asked questions, remembered details, showed her that this time she wasn't invisible. This time she mattered. This time he was actually present instead of just physically there. "I'm sorry." His voice was thick with emotion. "I'm so sorry for all of it. For every day I didn't ask these questions. For every moment I let you believe you didn't matter. For 3 years of failing you in every possible way. I know, and I forgive you, not because you deserve it, but because I deserve to let go of that anger. I deserve to choose peace instead of holding on to hurt." She squeezed his hand. "But Ji-Hoon, forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean pretending it didn't happen. It means acknowledging it and choosing to move forward anyway. I understand. And I'm grateful. More grateful than you'll ever know. He brought her hand to his lips, kissed it gently. I promise you won't regret this. I promise I'll spend every day proving you made the right choice. Just be you, the real you, not the ice prince, not the mafia enforcer. Just Ji-Hoon who plays piano and goes to therapy and is learning to be human again. That's all I need. They finished dinner slowly, neither wanting the night to end, neither ready to go back to separate apartments and separate lives. When the check came, he paid without thinking, then caught himself. Wait, should we split it? I don't want to assume. I don't want to fall into old patterns where I make all the decisions. She smiled, touched by the consideration. You can pay tonight. I'll pay next time. We'll figure out our own pattern. Next time. I like the sound of that. He helped her with her coat, walked her to her car with his hand on her lower back. Gentle, present, real. Can I see you again tomorrow? Is that too fast? Tell me if it's too fast. Tomorrow's good. Coffee? Something casual? I have class in the afternoon, but morning is free. Coffee. Perfect. He opened her car door, paused before she got in. Can I kiss you goodnight? Or is that rushing things? I don't want to push. I don't want to assume. You can kiss me. She stood on her toes, met him halfway, kissed him with the promise of more to come, with the hope that this was real, with the faith that maybe they could actually make this work. Drive safe. Text me when you get home. He closed her door, watched her drive away. She could see him in her rearview mirror, standing under the streetlight, watching until she turned the corner, like he couldn't quite believe she was real, like he was afraid if he looked away, she'd disappear. She texted him when she got home. Made it safe. Tonight was perfect. Thank you for being present, for being you. His response came immediately. Thank you for giving me a chance to be someone worthy of you. Sleep well, dream of tomorrow. She fell asleep smiling, fell asleep feeling hopeful, fell asleep believing that maybe, just maybe, love could survive being broken if both people were brave enough to piece it back together. The next 3 months were like living in a dream. They saw each other almost every day. Coffee in the mornings before her classes. Dinner in the evenings when she finished at the community center. Long walks through the city. Movie nights in his apartment where he'd hold her close and watch her reactions more than the screen. Lazy Sundays, where they'd cook together and talk about nothing and everything. He was different. Completely different. Attentive and present and vulnerable in ways she'd never thought possible. He told her about his day without her having to ask. Told her when he was struggling. Told her when therapy was hard. Told her his fears and hopes and dreams. Opened up in ways that 3 years ago would have been impossible. And she opened up too. Let him see her uncertainties. Her bad days. Her struggles with trusting that this was real. Her fear that he'd revert back to the Ice Prince the moment things got difficult. He held space for all of it. Never got defensive. Never made her feel like her fear was unreasonable. Just promised with his actions that he was different. That this time would be different. Mrs. Choi watched it all with knowing eyes. He's really changed. I've never seen him like this. Open, human, happy. I'm scared it won't last. I'm scared this is just the honeymoon phase and eventually we'll fall back into old patterns. She was folding laundry in her apartment, Mrs. Choi helping like always. I'm scared I'm setting myself up to get hurt all over again. That's a reasonable fear, but fear doesn't mean you're wrong to try. It just means you're human. Mrs. Choi set down a towel. You know what's different this time? You're different. 3 years ago, you would have accepted anything. You would have made excuses. You would have shrunk yourself to fit into his life. Now you demand more. You speak up. You set boundaries, and he respects them. It was true. She did speak up now. When he got too quiet and started retreating, she called him on it. When he made decisions without consulting her, she reminded him they were partners. When he slipped into old controlling patterns, she stopped it immediately, and he listened. Actually listened. Actually adjusted. Actually worked to do better. I talked to his therapist. Ji-Hoon told her one night over dinner at his apartment. With permission, asked if you could come to a session. She thinks it would be helpful for us to talk through the past with professional guidance, for us to make sure we're building something healthy instead of just repeating old patterns. You want me to come to therapy with you? I want us to have every tool possible to make this work. I want professional help navigating this because I'm terrified of screwing it up. He took her hands. 3 years ago, I would have refused therapy, would have said I was fine, would have pushed everyone away. Now I know I need help. We need help, and I'm not too proud to ask for it. Okay, yes, I'll come to therapy with you. She felt something loosen in her chest. Relief that he was taking this seriously, that he was willing to do the hard work. When? Next week, Thursday afternoon? I know you have class, but she has an opening, and I thought we could make it work if you're willing to skip this once. I can skip for this. This is important. She moved around the table to sit in his lap, wrapped her arms around his neck. I'm proud of you, for how hard you're working, for how brave you're being, for letting me in. He buried his face in her neck. I'm just trying to be worthy of you, trying to be the man my mother saw in me, trying to prove that people can change if they want it badly enough. You're already worthy. You already are that man. You just had to believe it. She kissed his temple. And I already know people can change. You're living proof. That night, for the first time, she stayed over. Not for sex, just to be close, to fall asleep in his arms and wake up next to him, to normalize being in each other's space, to build intimacy that wasn't just physical. He held her like she was precious, like she was something he'd almost lost and refused to risk again. She fell asleep listening to his heartbeat, fell asleep feeling safe, fell asleep believing this was real. The couple's therapy session was intense. The therapist was a woman in her 50s, with kind eyes and direct questions. She didn't let either of them off easy. Made them talk about the 3 years of marriage, about the hurt, about the patterns, about what they were doing differently now and why it might work this time. Why did you stay? The therapist asked her. For 3 years. Why didn't you leave sooner? I made a promise to his mother. I wanted to help. I kept hoping he'd change. I kept thinking maybe tomorrow would be different. She felt tears come. And I loved him. Even when he was destroying me, I loved who I thought he could be. And now, why did you come back? Because he is different. Because the work he's done is real. Because I still love him. Because I believe in second chances. Because, she looked at Ji-Hoon, because choosing him feels right even when it's scary. Because I'd rather risk being hurt than spend my life wondering what if. The therapist turned to Ji-Hoon. Why do you think you kept her at distance? Fear, pure fear. I watched my mother get destroyed by this life. I couldn't survive watching it happen to someone else. So I pushed away the one person who mattered most. Told myself I was protecting her when really I was just being a coward. His voice was thick. I hurt her to prevent hypothetical future hurt. And by the time I realized how stupid that was, she was gone. What's different now? Why won't you do the same thing again? Because I've done the work to understand my fear. Because I know now that pushing people away doesn't protect anyone. It just guarantees loneliness. Because I'd rather risk something happening to her while she's loved than guarantee nothing happens to her because she's invisible. He took her hand. Because I almost lost her and I won't make that mistake again. Because living without her was worse than any fear. Because she's worth the risk. The therapist nodded. The hurt you caused each other is real. The patterns you built are real. And changing those patterns takes more than good intentions. It takes consistent effort, daily choices, communication, even when it's uncomfortable. Are you both willing to do that work? Yes? They said it together, meant it together, committed together. Then you have a chance, not a guarantee, but a chance. The therapist smiled. Many couples don't survive what you went through, but the ones who do often end up stronger for it. Pain, when processed properly, can become wisdom. Suffering, when healed, can become empathy. Brokenness, when repaired, can become art. They left therapy holding hands, quiet, processing. Finally, Ji-Hoon spoke. That was harder than I expected. Healing is hard, but worth it. She squeezed his hand. We're doing the right thing, getting professional help, being honest, not just hoping love is enough, but actually building a foundation. I love you. He stopped walking, turned to face her. I know I say it all the time now. I know I'm probably overdoing it. But I spent 3 years not saying it, not showing it. So now I can't help myself. I love you. So much it terrifies me. So much I'd burn down the world before I'd hurt you again. Don't burn down the world. Just keep showing up. Keep being honest. Keep doing the work. She kissed him. That's all I need. Not grand gestures, not dramatic promises. Just consistency. Just presence. Just you being you. I can do that. I want to do that. For the rest of my life if you'll let me. One day at a time. Let's focus on building something real one day at a time. She started walking again. But yes, for the rest of our lives sounds good. Sounds like exactly what I want. They spent the rest of the day together, cooking dinner in his apartment, playing piano together, him teaching her basic chords while she laughed at her own incompetence, talking about the future, about where they wanted to live, about whether they wanted kids someday, about building a life that was theirs instead of something defined by family obligations or past mistakes. I want to buy a house, Ji-Hoon said. Not a mansion like before. Something normal, something warm, something that can be a home instead of a fortress. Will you help me look? You want my input? On something that's yours? I want our input. On something that's ours. If you're willing. If it's not too fast. He played a soft melody. I know we just started dating. I know we're taking it slow, but I also know what I want. And what I want is a life with you. A real one. So whenever you're ready, I'd like to start building that. Buying a house, making it a home, together. That's not too fast. That's perfect. She leaned her head on his shoulder. Let's look at houses. Let's plan a future. Let's build something beautiful. 6 months after they started dating, they found the house. Small by Kim family standards. 3 bedrooms, a garden, a neighborhood that was safe and quiet and normal. Nothing like the estate. Everything like a fresh start. They moved in together, combined their lives, her books on his shelves, his piano in her living room, their space, their home, their beginning. Mrs. Choi helped them move, cried happy tears seeing them together. Mrs. Kim would be so happy, so proud of both of you, for finding your way back to each other, for being brave enough to try again. I wish she could see this, could see him now, could know she was right about everything. She looked around the house, at boxes waiting to be unpacked, at potential waiting to be realized. She saved him, even after death. She knew exactly what he needed. She saved you too, gave you a purpose, gave you a reason to be fierce, gave you someone worth fighting for. Mrs. Choi hugged her tight. You both saved each other. That's what love does when it's real. That night, in their new house, Ji-Hoon made dinner while she unpacked boxes. They ate sitting on the floor because the dining table wasn't set up yet. Laughed about the chaos, made plans for furniture shopping, talked about paint colors and landscaping and all the small decisions that made a house a home. I want to propose, Ji-Hoon said suddenly. Not yet. Not until you're ready. But I want you to know that's where I'm headed. That this isn't just dating. This is building toward forever. And whenever you're ready to hear it, whenever you're ready to say yes, I'll ask. I appreciate you telling me. Not surprising me. Not assuming. She set down her fork. And for the record, I think I'd say yes. Not today. Not yet. But someday soon, when we've built enough new memories to balance the old ones, when I'm confident this is permanent, when forever feels less scary and more like coming home. No pressure, no timeline, just know I'm all in, completely, forever. He smiled. You're it for me. The only one. The last one. The love that makes everything else make sense. You're it for me too, even when I didn't want you to be. Even when I tried to move on, even when logic said I should run. She reached across their makeshift table. You're my person, my choice, my forever, when the time is right. 3 months later, Ji-Hoon's father had a heart attack. Massive, life-threatening. The whole family gathered at the hospital. Extended relatives, business associates. Both sons standing vigil while doctors worked to save the man who'd built an empire and destroyed so many lives building it. She stayed by Ji-Hoon's side, held his hand, offered silent support while he processed the possibility of losing his father. Minwoo was there too, back from Europe for this crisis. He nodded at her politely, shook Ji-Hoon's hand, kept his distance, respected the boundaries they'd all silently agreed to. The old man survived, barely, weak and frail in his hospital bed, but alive. He called both sons to his bedside, asked her to stay. I want her to hear this. She's part of this family, whether the paperwork says so or not. You're going to live. Minwoo's voice was steady, but she could hear the relief. The doctors said you'll recover fully. Maybe, or maybe this is the warning. The sign that time is running out. The old man's voice was weak but still authoritative. I'm splitting the business, giving you both equal shares. Minwoo gets the international operations. Ji-Hoon gets the domestic. No more hierarchy. No more legitimate son versus bastard. Just two brothers running an empire together. Father, Ji-Hoon started, let me finish. I'm dying. Maybe not today. Maybe not this year. But soon, and I need to know the family will survive. That my sons will work together, instead of tearing each other apart. His eyes found hers. She'll help you. She'll remind you what matters. She'll keep you human when this life tries to make you monsters. I'm not part of the family business, she said it firmly. I won't be involved in any of it. I support Ji-Hoon, but I won't participate in what this family does. I'm not asking you to participate. I'm asking you to be his conscience, his reminder that there's more to life than power and blood and control. The old man smiled weakly. My late wife was my conscience. I ignored her and lost her. Don't let Ji-Hoon make the same mistake. He won't. He's already different, already better. She squeezed Ji-Hoon's hand. He's not you. He's not repeating your patterns. He's building something new. Good. That's good. The old man's eyes closed. Take care of each other, both of you. Life is too short and too hard to do it alone. After he fell asleep, the three of them stood in the hallway. Awkward, uncertain. Finally, Minwoo spoke. He's right. About working together, about not tearing each other apart. Are we capable of that? After everything? Ji-Hoon looked at her. She nodded. Gave permission. He turned to his brother. We're capable if you're willing to try. I don't want the family business. Not the dark parts. But I'll help transition everything legitimate. I'll work with you to clean up what can be cleaned. To make our father's empire into something that doesn't destroy lives. That's a massive undertaking. Could take years. Then it takes years, but I'm not living the life he lived. I'm not becoming what he was. I'm building something different. With her. Ji-Hoon's arm went around her shoulders. And if you're willing, I'd like you to be part of that. Part of making this family mean something other than blood and fear. Min-woo looked at both of them. At his brother who'd changed, at the woman he'd loved and lost, at the possibility of something different. Finally, he nodded. Okay, let's try. Let's build something better for all of us. They shook hands. Brothers. Actually brothers. Not competitors. Not enemies. Just two men trying to be better than what they'd been raised to be. She watched them and felt hope. Felt like maybe the Kim family could actually change, could actually become something other than tragedy. That night, back at their house, Ji-Hoon was quiet, processing. Finally, he spoke. I was so scared he'd die before I could show him I changed, before I could prove I'm not just the monster he made me. You're not a monster. You never were. You were just a hurt child who became a hurt man, but you're healing, and he saw that today. He knows you're different. She pulled him close. Your mother would be proud of all of it, of you changing, of you and Min-woo working together, of you building a life that's about more than darkness. I hope so. I hope she's watching. I hope she knows you kept your promise, that you saved me even when I didn't deserve saving. He kissed her forehead. Thank you for everything, for staying, for trying, for believing I could be better. You are better. You did the work. I just provided support. She tilted her face up. But you're welcome for all of it, for being stubborn enough to see potential when everyone else saw only damage. I love you more than I've ever loved anything. More than I thought I was capable of. His hands cupped her face. Marry me. I know I said I'd wait. I know I said no pressure. But life is short and uncertain, and I don't want to waste another day. Marry me. Build this life with me. Let me spend forever proving you made the right choice. She felt tears come. Happy tears. Yes. Yes, I'll marry you. Actually marry you. Build a real marriage instead of a contract. Choose you every day for the rest of our lives. Yes. He kissed her, poured everything into it. Love and gratitude and hope and promise. She kissed him back. Chose him. All of him. The broken parts and the healed parts and the parts still healing. Chose hope over fear. Chose love over safety. Chose them over everything that said it was impossible. I don't have a ring. He laughed through tears. I was planning to wait, to make it perfect, to do it right. I don't need perfect, I just need real. I just need you. She held his face. We'll pick out rings together. We'll plan a wedding together. We'll do everything together. That's the whole point. Together. I like that word. I like what it means. I like us being we instead of I. He pulled her toward the bedroom. Come to bed. Let me hold you. Let me feel how real this is. Let me believe I get to keep you. They fell asleep tangled together. Happy. Hopeful. Whole. Fell asleep as fiancé instead of exes. As partners instead of strangers. As people who'd survived hell and found each other on the other side. The lotus flowers, beauty from mud, light from darkness, love from brokenness. The wedding was small, just close friends. Mrs. Choi, a few colleagues from the community center, Min-woo, who stood as best man and gave a speech about second chances, and brothers who finally found peace. Ji-Hoon's father, who watched from a wheelchair, weak but alive, crying through the entire ceremony. She wore a simple dress, no designer gown, no performance, just her. He wore a suit, but no armor, no walls, just him. They wrote their own vows, spoke promises that were real instead of scripted, committed to forever with eyes open and hearts full and hope that refused to die. I promise to see you every day, even on the hard days, especially on the hard days. Ji-Hoon's voice was steady, clear. I promise to never make you invisible again. I promise to love you out loud. I promise to be present. I promise to be worthy of the fierce woman who chose me despite everything. I promise to keep choosing you. Every day, even when it's hard, even when fear says run. I promise to remind you who you are when darkness calls you back. I promise to believe in your potential even when you don't. I promise to build this life with you, one day at a time, one choice at a time, forever. Her voice broke. I promise to love you, completely, without walls, without fear, just love. They kissed as husband and wife for the second time, but this time it was real. This time they both meant it. This time forever felt possible instead of terrifying. The reception was at their house, their garden full of people who actually cared, who'd watch them struggle and survive and find each other again, who believed in second chances and love that refused to die. Music played, food was eaten, speeches were given, laughter filled the air. Mrs. Choi toasted them with tears. To the most stubborn woman I know, and the man brave enough to become worthy of her. May your love be as fierce as the journey that brought you here. Minwoo's toast was shorter. To my brother and his wife, may you build something beautiful from all that broken. May you prove that people can change. May you be happy. Finally. Completely. Ji-Hoon's father spoke last. I destroyed a lot in my life building an empire. Destroyed my first wife. Nearly destroyed my sons. Created darkness everywhere I went. But watching you two gives me hope. Hope that my sons can be better. Hope that this family can mean something other than tragedy. Hope that love can actually heal if people are brave enough to try. As the sun set and the party wound down, Ji-Hoon pulled her into their house. Away from the crowd, into the quiet. Thank you for this, for believing in us, for giving me another chance when you had every reason not to. Thank you for doing the work, for actually changing, for being the man I always hoped you could be. She wrapped her arms around him. We did it. We actually did it. Built something real from all that damage. We did, and we'll keep doing it. Every day. Forever. He kissed her. Soft and sweet and full of promise. Ready to start our forever? I've been ready since the day I said yes. Since before that. Since the moment I chose to try again despite everything logical saying I shouldn't. She took his hand, led him upstairs to their bedroom, to their life, to their forever. Let's start right now. They closed the door on the party, on the past, on everything except each other and the future they were building. They chose love, chose hope, chose second chances and fierce hearts and lotus flowers growing from mud. And somewhere, maybe, Mrs. Kim was smiling. Watching her son finally heal, watching her promise kept, watching beauty rise from all that darkness, watching love win despite everything that tried to destroy it. The fierce woman and the broken man who learned to be whole, together, finally, forever.